converting online, easing social media stress, why goals are important, programs to make your life easier, and so much more is what you're going to get in this episode with Amanda Ross.
Welcome to Fox Talks Business Podcast with your host, Tanya Fox. Tanya has been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, owning retail, service, and franchise. She holds no punches and is never afraid to talk about the nitty-gritty. Together, you'll explore the good, the bad, and the motivational of business life, turning obstacles into opportunities and failures into successes. So grab your favorite drink and let's have some fun. Here's your host, speaker, crafter, and collaborator, Tanya Fox.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Amanda. I'm so excited to have a fellow Canadian on.
Yeah. I'm super pumped to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your story to kind of where you are right now.
Sure. It's funny whenever people ask me this, I start talking and I'm like, oh my God, I've been talking for an hour about this. They're probably like,
that's
shut
okay.
up. So yeah, I'll do my best. It's been a journey where it's like, you just take left turns and you're like, oh, now I'm doing this. Who knew? So it's kind of been like that. So basically, I went to college for fashion because I really thought that when you go to college for fashion, like you were going to be like this super cool buyer that is like traveling the world. You are looking at cool things. You're bringing them back to Canada. Like that's really what I believed was going to happen in my life. It is not what happens. What ends up happening is that you are a manager in a retail store. And look, that's all great. I love that. But sometimes something fits for a person, sometimes it doesn't fit for a person. And there became a point where I was managing actually in Zellers. Do you remember Zellers, Hudson's Bay Company?
Loves Zellers.
Yes.
Yep.
So right out of college, they brought me into their management training program. So right out of college, it was my first real job. And I actually remember when I was in the interview and she said how much it paid. And she said like it was $32,000. And I remember coming home, I was like, 20 or whatever. And I'm like, she said 32,000, but that seems like a lot of money. Maybe she's meant 13. And I remember my mom was like, no, I'm pretty sure for a job like that, it's probably 32. It's like so much money.
Our concepts, back then.
I know, it's so funny. So anyway, I ended up being this manager in training with them. And so basically that meant that I would go to specific stores and I would they would give me like a section, they have like all these different sort of managers. I have a section that I run, then I would also be involved with the HR and all those different elements of running the store. So I did that for I think I was with them for about a year and a half or something like that. And then I left because I got a job with this really cool brand in the big mall here. And I was all excited that I'm going to get this this super cool store. And I was there for about probably, I think 3 months. And the values weren't the same. Our values were not the same. So the district manager said to me we had a staff meeting. And he had said to me earlier, before the staff meeting started, he said, we have to get rid of, Shirley. And I said, what are you talking about? She's my top salesperson. Like, why would I get rid of Shirley? And he said, because we want this to be like a club. We want people to think this is like a club. And I'm like, dude, we're in Hamilton. I don't know where you think you are, but like, that's not what's happening here. And
this is not downtown New York, buddy.
Yeah. What is happening? And she was not a size 0. And so he said she didn't fit the brand. And I was like, okay, I'm not okay with this. And then we had our staff meeting and he, in front of everybody, said, you need to take care of that now. And I was like, oh. And Shirley came up to me and said, why am I not on the schedule? He had crossed her out on the schedule. So for my values, I just was like, I cannot work. I just can't do it. So the next day we were going to be rearranging the whole store. And I just came in and I said, here's my keys. I'm done here. I slept on it because I was like, I'm going to sleep on it. I'm not going to make any rash decisions. I'll sleep on it. But I was like, no, I can't do it. I cannot work for somebody who treats people like that. That's just not okay. So I left with no job. So I left. I was like, well, here I am. jobless. It's awesome. So I was like, oh,
Principles.
yeah, like, it's great. So amazing. So yeah, and it was summer. So I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But yeah, so I got a job fairly quickly. I got a job part-time at bartending and waitressing at a Kelsey's. And I went back to school and I took web design and graphics at Mohawk and also at Athabasca University because they had back then distance education, which is where you back in those days, like this is 19, what year was it actually? 2001, I think. So I had to like get a disc. For people that don't know, there was these things that were like these square flat things that we would put in computers and that's where you would save your stuff. And I would have to like do my homework and then I have to mail it to them. I have to wait for them to mail back my homework. So that was super fun learning that way. But that's when I was introduced to sort of this whole digital space and I fell in love with it. And so after probably about a year and a half of doing that, or 2 years or whatever, I can't even remember, I got a job at an IT education consulting company in the marketing department. And again, it's one of those weird things. Again, when you're young, like you really don't understand life. Like I was like, I don't know what's happening. So the CEO was the second interview. I had the second interview with the CEO. And I remember again, I came home and I was like, I mean, I had a meeting with the CEO of marketing. And my mom was like, there's no CEO of marketing. There's just the CEO. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure there's like the CEO of marketing, the CEO of finance. Cause like, why would the CEO talk to me? Like it's unbelievable. Right. So yeah, no, it really was CEO because it wasn't a huge company, but big enough, but the CEO was quite involved in marketing. So she liked to know what was going on. So I got a job there as a marketing coordinator. Within a few months, I think 6 months, I was promoted and I ended up being there for about 6 years where I ended up running our international marketing team because we had offices all around the world. So Australia, China, Brazil, Mexico, the UK, South Africa. So we had offices everywhere. So I would be building up marketing for everybody and spending a lot of money. Like, just sign this. It's okay. It's only $350,000. No big deal.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's okay. It's fine. So I loved doing that. And I loved the craziness of it because it was crazy busy all the time. Like it was mental. And it forced me to get very, very productive and very, very efficient, right? So I had to get super efficient, super understanding of how to like build out project plans and all that stuff really, really well. And then after about 6 years, I was like, I've always wanted to have my own business. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become a realtor, as you do. So that's what I did. And my dad was a real estate agent since 1974. So I just felt like this makes complete sense. So I'm totally going to do this. Yeah. It's going to be easy peasy. And I didn't like it at all. So I was an actual real estate agent for about a year and a half and it was fine. Like it was fine, but I just didn't love it. Like you're on your own, it's not crazy busy unless you're crazy busy, but like, you know what I mean? It's not a lot of this stuff that I love, right? Like I love the marketing and I love all that stuff. So I was doing not a lot of that. Well, I was doing a lot of that. Really, I should have been spending my time somewhere else, but like, so you don't, and there's no like accountability. So you're kind of just like out there willy nilly, like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to work on this today.
I'll go make some money today.
Yeah. Like it's, kind of crazy. And then pretty quickly I ended up back in leadership. So I ended up running 2 different real estate brokerages and did what I am really good at and what I do love doing, which is focusing on the marketing, focusing on building processes, helping and coaching and training hundreds of agents to build really strong brands that stand out, that, using the tools and social media was coming out then. So it was like all of that stuff. I was writing for a national real estate magazine and all of that. So I really enjoyed all of that. And then I was like, still though, I always want to do my own thing, right? I still wanted to always do my stuff. So in 2013, I quit full-time, started my own business. So at the beginning of that, I started really helping sort of in the real estate industry. And then it just shifted because my sister had also started her own business and she's an HR consultant at the time. And so my business quickly shifted to start to have a lot of consultants and coaches because she knew those people. And so that's, so it just shifted. And yeah, the business has grown and changed because things grow and change over time. I still love and do focus on web design, but as I've grown, it's become more than web design. It's become really thoughtful about having a standout brand and being really thoughtful about why we have a website. Like, I don't build websites to build a website. Like, if you want a website just because, hey, you should have one, there's lots of people that can do that for you. I don't do that, right? So I build websites that are thoughtful, that are your number one asset, that are the thing that is going to help you generate business, grow your business, whether it's we're building funnels into it, helping you with lead generation, being really smart with your CTAs, understanding your entire product ecosystem so that we are clear and focused and driving traffic there with our social media and all of that stuff. So that's what I do now. And with obviously a focus on service-based businesses that really want to shift into the digital space with online courses and things like that. So hopefully that wasn't awful.
No, that was good. I love that. So, and with that, I mean, especially at the time that we're in right now, that
Yes.
a lot of people are sort of going, well, we don't really have any choice. So now
Yes.
we're trying to figure out how we're going to shift everything, to go online. And that's frightening. Cause I know even for myself, I look and we were just talking about this off air where I was like, yeah, I have a YouTube channel and I've got really great intentions with it. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm right on track. And then it weighs a little bit and all of that other stuff.
I've been there.
With all the social media that's out there, it sometimes feels a little daunting, right? Because you think, I hear all of this stuff and I'm supposed to be on and I'm supposed to be posting and I'm supposed to be posting about myself personally and I'm supposed to find all of these pictures. And then sometimes you're just like, I don't care. Throw a picture of a cat up. I just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't think about it anymore. So for those people that are out there that are like, oh my God, yeah, that is so me. What are some tips that you can give about things that you should be concentrating on when it comes to social media for those that are feeling the overwhelm primarily?
Yeah. So I think that it's super easy. Like, and I am totally shiny object syndrome. I'm like, ooh, looky, what's happening over here? Right? Like, it's hideous. But going through, like, so for me, what really helped me, because I've always been like that, it's awful. But for me, what really helped me was really understanding what I call my product, like your product ecosystem, right? Really understanding what it is that you offer, like what is your core offer, what are the things that lead to that thing, and who do you serve and how do you serve them? Like, how is it actually going to happen? Like, what are those things? That way, and understanding your money and having those financial, like actually having real goals. Like, I know a lot of people that are like, oh, if I can make like $5,000, that'd be great. No. We got to know, like, in a year, how much you want to make. What does that mean every month? What does that mean? How many things you have to sell then? Like, we have to get really very, very clear about that. So we understand what our goals are. Like, without goals, you're just like kind of going along. This is not a real business without having like real goals set up. Right. So I think those things are really important. I also think that stop trying to do all the social media. Freaking stop. Like, pick one, do it really well, and then move on to another one. Right. Like, and really think about, what feels good for you and where the ROI is coming from. Like, for a while, I was really like Pinterest. And then Pinterest, and that's the other thing you got to be really aware of. Pinterest changed its algorithm. And now Pinterest is like, right? Like, so nobody's loving Pinterest right now. So you have to then be ready to sort of shift and go, okay, so what do I do now? Because that can happen. It's like back in the day when Facebook came up with Facebook pages and everybody had a Facebook page and people were making dollar bills, right? Like, it was like crazy. It was like, they were just like, whoa, money. And then Facebook was like, oh, we're going to change that so that it's like pay to play. Right? That's when they came up with all their whole advertising system. So you have to be ready for that. And a lot of businesses lost their business because of that. Like, they literally went out of business when that happened. So you do have to be able to pivot quickly. But I would just say, like, focus on something. And also within social media, be really aware that when a social media platform comes out with something new, they don't do it for fun, right? So if like Instagram just came out with Reels, and there's lots of people like, I don't really understand Reels. Okay, we'll figure it out, because that's top priority for them, which means that it is going to be the number one thing showing up in the feed. So try their new stuff, because they're going to give you more attention. They're going to give you more weight if you're using the things that they bring up, right? So when Facebook groups came out, everybody that started a Facebook group right away grew huge, because Facebook, that's what they want. When they make something new, they want you to jump into it and try it, right? So, but like, I also think it's really important to, again, with your product ecosystem, understanding who you serve and what you're serving, where is the right place for you to be? LinkedIn might be the right place for you, right? Like you just have to really be like aware of what these different platforms offer and who they're serving and how they serve them. So figuring out and really understanding who, and I don't like there's this whole thing, when you people, you always hear like, oh, you've really got to figure out who your avatar is, and you should have a picture of your person. And I'm like, oh my God, kill me. Like I hate that. So like, I always go, you know what? Be you authentically as your authentic business self. Be your authentic business self as much as you can, and you will find the people. They will find you. And you will eventually stumble upon it and go, this is really who I serve, because this is who I like working with. Or if there's a client that you liked working with in the past, what was it about them that you really loved about them? And once you can figure that out and figure out where they are, then that's where you need to be, right? That's what you need to focus on. But like, don't make social media hard. Like I think people make it really hard. I am all about batching content. Like I'm all about like, let's just create a whole bunch of stuff today. Like just, that's all we're going to do. So that we have a ton of content ready. I use a program called CoSchedule that I can like schedule everything out. I love CoSchedule. It's been awesome for me. I love that it's a calendar. That's like one of my favorite things. It like looks like a calendar. I'm like, oh, that's so nice, because I can actually see all the days and all the things. So I love that. And then it also will give me a list of to-dos. Like, so when I log in, it actually says, these are the things that have to happen today. And what I love about CoSchedule is not only does it manage my social media, but I can actually put other projects in there. It works with my WordPress, right? Like, so you can put your blogs in there and have it share through CoSchedule, and it all kind of works together. You can say, oh, I'm going to create an ebook and I want this done on this deadline. And you can put all your project to-dos attached to that. So I love that it's kind of an all-in-one system for me. But definitely use automation, definitely use batching. And with YouTube, what we were talking about with the YouTube, I've totally been there. I remember in 2013, I was like, I'm totally going to start YouTube. I'm going to do it every single week. Watch out, girls. And then I did like 4 videos, right? I'm like, oh, now I'm exhausted.
This is a lot of work.
So much work. So I was like, okay, this isn't going to fly. And then like 2 months go by and I'm like, okay, I'm totally going to do this YouTube thing again. And then I do like 5 videos. Okay, again, I'm like, all right. And so that kept happening. And now I know somebody who started doing them, started around the same time with me. And she's Canadian too. Her name is Sunny Leonarduzzi. Do you know
Yep.
who's Sunny? Okay. Sunny just hit $10 million in her company because Sunny did do YouTube videos every single week, right? Like, so you just go, well, that's unfortunate. But the reality is I can start doing that at any point. It doesn't matter that I didn't start in 2013. I can start today and start doing that. So it just is about consistency, showing up, focusing on one thing, because that's all she did was YouTube. Like she wasn't worried about all the other things. She came into Instagram only, I think, two years ago, and then started growing Instagram because she's like, I've mastered YouTube. Okay, I can now go and do this social media. And she didn't need to do all the social medias. She was making money with YouTube. So, you have to remember that you literally don't have to be everywhere. So just focus on the one thing, do it really, really well, show up consistently, use the tools that they give you, and it will absolutely grow your business. Consistency is key. Like it really is.
And I think that that's so true. And sometimes you just don't know, like we were talking before that I had created a YouTube channel when I had a retail craft store, which is still going. I don't know why people still watch the one video, but I spent hours trying to figure out all of these videos and tutorials and like how to knit. And I was doing these and editing them. That's not the one that went crazy or went, viral, that has over 300,000 views. It was literally the one that I just pulled the table up and pulled my neighbor over and I was like, hey, I found this new product and it's cool. Let's try it. And then everyone was like, it was like the it thing. It was those diamond paintings.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did the video. I found it and I did the video when they were first coming out. And
nice.
So, and then that's the video that went viral. The videos that I was like, I worked really hard on this. People are going to want to see this video. It's so great. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
don't make it hard.
20 views, 50 views. And then, so like my channel is hilarious to see because they'll be like 100 views, 200 views, 5 views, 330,000 views. Like, if anybody would have said which video went viral, I'm like, this one took me the most time. I think this is what people were looking for. And I'm like, that's not what people were looking for at all.
No, it is
if
crazy.
I would have only paid attention, right? Which I did. I was like, well, people seem to be liking this video, so I guess I'll make more of that one. And so any video that has like diamond painting, it went crazy. Like, and I was like, right place, right time, absolutely, for sure, right?
That's so funny. Yeah,
but I think it's like you said, it's learning that lesson of, you know, trying the platforms out, trying different things. And then, you know, maybe going back to the drawing board, going, maybe this isn't the place that people want to find, you know, this content on, or that people are going to engage with me.
Yeah. And even for yourself, like you try it and you're like, I kind of hate this. Okay, don't do it. Like, don't do it if you hate it. Like, like
or
honestly,
it worked once, so it must work again. Like, I'm like, maybe it's not really working for this particular project.
Exactly. Like, you know, and I mean, and I know that like a lot of people do these posts like on Instagram where they post like a picture of themselves and then they write like a book, right? Like, holy friggin' God.
That's getting more and more, I'm finding too.
I hate my life. I don't like it. I am like, oh, this is so hard for me. Like, this is hard. It is hard for me to do that. So I am much more, I like tangible, I like tactical. So on like my Instagram, what I've decided is like, I will still do those, but they will not be very long. They'll be like a page rather than a book, right?
Right.
A paragraph maybe. And what I found for me, what I decided was working for me is because I don't like doing that. And because it's hard for me to just post a picture of myself and then, I don't know, say a bunch of crap. I was like, you know what? I now take pictures. I have this thing called Remarkable. So it's like, it's 1,000 notebooks in one tool. And so I create like a quote in there. And then I take the picture with me holding the Remarkable with the quote. And then I can just talk about that quote. So it's not just that my face, like, it's like my face with the quote. So it's like, for me, that feels more meaningful. Like I'm not just taking a picture of myself and putting, and not that it's wrong. If you're comfortable doing that, do your thing, girl. But like, for me, it's just an odd thing. So I just felt like that way it's still me, but it's got this quote and I have a purpose now. I feel like it's more purposeful in what I'm saying, than just kind of being like, oh, when I was a kid, this used to happen. I don't know. Like, it's just really strange to me.
It's funny that you say that because one of my girlfriends is very, like, she's good in Instagram. She loves doing it. She's always taking pictures. So like, it's her thing. Right. And she was like, come on, we're going to go do a photo shoot. And she's like, okay, like peek out behind this tree. I mean, the photos are stunning, but I'm looking at all of them going, oh, for the love of God. Like, I'm like, so I'll put this video on YouTube, but like my hands are in my hair, shit that I would never do in real life. So if you ever see me with like my hand in my hair, or it's like scrunched in, I'm telling you that never happens in normal life unless I'm really frustrated and I'm literally pulling out my hair.
Pulling your hair out, yeah.
So there's like, but hers all look so natural because that's literally what she'd like. She's always fluffing and preening and stuff like that. But it's just so funny to me because I'm like, I find Instagram so challenging because I'm not a picture person. I don't think of taking photos of my food until after I ate it. And I was like, I should have probably taken a photo of that. So I love your idea of, you know, just holding up the quote, because that would be something that'd be like, oh, here, I want to show, but I'm not like, oh, look, a deer, snap, snap, snap. Like, I'm like, look, a deer. That was great. Hey, I saw a deer, everybody. No, you know, insert deer photo here. Like,
yeah. It's an empty street. It was here, I promise.
Just use your imagination. Come on, people.
Yeah, it's fine.
So what are your thoughts on posting you know, like some people, if you're following them on Facebook and you're following on Instagram, it's like the same photo, same words. I've totally been guilty of this.
You know, here's the thing. Don't make it freaking hard. Do that. Like, honestly, I'm going to do that. Like, I'm like, if you think for a freaking second that I'm making new content for Facebook, LinkedIn, friggin' Pinterest, Instagram, you lost your damn mind. Like, that ain't happening. I do not have the time to do that. So for me, I don't worry about it. I'm like, if they follow me on all, then they're just getting more messages for me. They're just seeing me more. I'm not overly concerned about it, honestly. Because I think if you make it hard, you're never going to do it. Right. And like, it's just, these people out here, there's lots of people that are like, oh no, I customize. Good for you. You do that. but that doesn't make it wrong that you don't. So like today I posted, the other thing that I'm doing are slider things that you slide through on Instagram. So it's like, today's I posted was about creating an engaging landing page. So as you slide through, it gives you like a couple of tips on how to do that. I took those same images and I made a PDF out of it and I posted that on LinkedIn because LinkedIn likes when you post a document. So on LinkedIn, it's a slider image, but it's using a PDF. Exact same images, posted them on Facebook. And then on my Facebook page, I shared that to my Facebook group. I'm not who's got the time to do all that? You just don't. So don't worry about it. I know there's lots of people out there that are going to disagree with me and think you have to create all kinds of custom content for every social platform. I say that's crazy waste of time because there's people that are following you on LinkedIn that don't follow you on Facebook. So don't worry about it. And there's a handful of people that connected with you everywhere because you have good vibes with them. That's fine. They're not going to be rolling their eyes. It's fine. No big. Yeah.
On this date at this time, you posted the same thing to, those people that pick all of those inconsistencies out in movies. And
get over, do something else with your time, please. Jesus.
So, now the main reason that most businesses use social media is obviously to get leads. They want to get more people to like and do their content, but that's always been a struggle for people. And I know that you have sort of had that struggle. Can you tell us a little bit about the story behind your struggle that you've had with lead generation and then how you're working towards getting out of that? Because I know it's a continuous thing.
It's a continuous thing. It's painful for me. So for me, it's I hear people say all the time, well, I'm terrible at sales. And I'm I'm actually not. And sales is multiple things. If I get in front of you and we have a conversation and I want to close the deal with you, we're going to work together, right? That's it. But prospecting, I'm what? A puke my brains out, right? I'm terrible at prospecting. Always have been. It's always been a struggle for me. But I'm great when I get you, right? When I get you, I'm oh yeah, okay, we're doing this thing. But it's the getting you that I've always struggled with is finding the people. So luckily for me, I've had a really great referral business. So I tend to have a handful of people that think for some crazy reason think I'm awesome. And they tell people about me. I'm oh, this is awesome. So that has been amazing. And I've always been, my business has always been where I do custom work. So that's been great. However, in the last year, I've decided that I'm going to be shifting my business, just like I help my clients shift into online courses. I've been building online courses for clients for years and helping them build them on websites and, being thoughtful about all that. But I myself have never done that for me. So for me, I'm shifting my business just like my clients have been. So for me, it's just been a whole new learning process of figuring out exactly what we're talking about, where to focus my time and energy, who am I talking to, what am I selling, right? Getting very, very clear, because I think the more clear you are, the less shiny object you have, because it is so easy, so friggin' easy to be online looking at other people's Instagrams and their Facebooks and, oh my God, their Facebook group is 10,000 people. Why don't I have 10,000 people, right? We start comparing and going, oh, I need to do this thing. And look how they do this thing. I need to start doing this thing. And oh, they're selling this thing. I need to start. You know what? No, just focus on your business instead of their business. Stop focusing on everybody else's business and comparing yourself, because you're not them, right? And nobody's you. So it doesn't even matter if what they're doing is the exact same thing that you want to do. You're oh, I can't do that because so-and-so already does it. Don't worry about that. Because the way that you talk, what you bring to the table, your brand messaging, your vibe is going to be right for somebody else. So it doesn't matter. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. But you have to kind of just figure out what works for you. And I think you just have to really stick with it and be consistent, right? And be thoughtful about, especially when you're shifting into sort of this more of a digital space, you want to be really thoughtful about, your funnels and being prepared on your website and utilizing your website and knowing that it's your number one asset. Your website is yours. It's the only thing that you really own in the digital space that's yours. That's why you have to be careful and thoughtful about whether you're going to use some of these tools out there, right? If you're going to use ClickFunnels or a Kajabi or a Kartra or whatever, I'm not saying don't. I think they're all brilliant products. I just think you have to, be thoughtful about that. For me, I use WordPress, but my back end is going to be something else, right? So my back end is Podia. So I use Podia to run my courses and sell my actual products and be my shopping cart. But WordPress is really my collateral space. I build all my landing pages. I don't use Podia for landing pages. It's literally just the shopping cart and where the assets sit once you can log in. But like all my landing pages, my funnels are all set up on my WordPress, my call to action, my branding, my videos, like everything's on my WordPress, on my domain, on my hosting. I own it. So I think that's really important, to think about it like that and build a place where when people do come there, there's something to do, right? Like they're going to sign up for your thing. They're going to buy your low offer. They're going to get on your email list, right? Because of course we want to do that. I also really do think that having a place like a Facebook group, I was really against it for a long time. Like I was really like, ugh, Facebook groups are the worst, like freaking throw them out, because they're a lot of work. But it is absolutely one of the best places to really build those relationships with people. And I think that because I was looking at it from a certain aspect, I wasn't seeing it that way. So sometimes it takes somebody else or going through something and you see it in a whole new light and you're like, wow, okay, this is something. So I know somebody, her name is Sarah Dan, and her whole business is focused around her Facebook group. That is where she sells, that is where she connects, and that's what she does. She doesn't worry about Instagram, she doesn't worry about LinkedIn, she doesn't worry about Pinterest, she doesn't worry about anything else. All she does is focus on her Facebook group, and she's going to I know that I think it was last week or the week before, she had already hit $850,000 this year just from her Facebook group. Yes, there's 10,000 people in it, but that's just being what she's focused on. And she's only focused on it, I think, for about 2 years. So it hasn't been like this long journey. Yeah. So, when you kind of go through it and you see it and you can actually be on the other side of it and go, wow, because I trust her. I'm buying her things. I just spent $2,000 with her, right? Like, when you see it that way, it really can change your perspective. So it really did. So, and that's the other thing I would say is, don't dig your heels in too far. You can't change your mind. Okay. So, I think that having a Facebook group and pushing people towards that is also really, really smart. I would also say that I see this a lot, and I actually did this because I followed the leaders. And I'm going to be changing this myself, but on Instagram, we all have the link that we click on. A lot of people, we all change that to like a link tree or something like that, where you click on it and it's like, here's my 10 things. You can see these 10 links. I'm going to be changing mine to be one thing, one link, because just like a landing page, I want them to do one thing, right? So on Instagram, I want you to do one thing. I want you to click on this link and sign up for this one thing. I don't want to give you 10 options. It's too many. I don't want to give you 3. It's too many. I want to give you one thing to do. So sometimes we see other people doing things and we think that's the right thing to do, when really, when you step back and think about it, it's probably not the best thing to do, because always when we have too many choices, we often make no choice.
Right.
So instead, give them one choice. This is what I want you to do. This is the first thing I want you to do. I want to get you either in my list or on my Facebook group or whatever that might be. Start moving them through your funnel to get them into your space so that they can start building that, positive vibe energy. And then hopefully they'll start buying your stuff, buying your courses, buying your services, whatever that is.
And I think too, the shift for people is they want that authenticity that is luckily, we're starting to see more and more. And it was the whole reason why I started this podcast. Cause I was like, nobody says that, everyone always says the rosy, right? Like they're like, oh yeah, I make $100,000 or yeah, I did this or did that. It's wonderful. This is a wonderful life. And you're like, yeah, but you omitted the fact that last week I talked to you and you were crying in the closet with a bottle of red wine and a pint of Haagen-Dazs. Like, are you not, you're not going to tell anybody about that? Like,
no, we're
going to keep that a secret. Like, so one of the things I love that you've done is you actually did a 50K challenge that you were sort of bearing it all. Tell everybody a little bit about that you had done or are still in the midst of doing, I should say.
Yes. So basically what it is that so I'm a really big believer in accountability, right? Like I know who I am and I'm lazy. Like I'm lazy as hell, right? Like I'm one of the laziest people you're ever going to meet, which makes me incredibly efficient. Yes. But if I don't have accountability or a very clear strategy built out or goals, I can sit back and watch Netflix all damn day, right? So that ain't good for nobody. So I do have to have some sort of accountability. So for me, I said, okay, what I want to do is I want to hit $50,000 every month by August 2021. I want that to be a consistent thing, not just like I hit it and that's it. No, I want by August 2021 to already have started having 50K months every single month. So I was like, okay, that's fun to say.
Looks good on a sticky note.
It's my favorite thing. So then I was like, okay, how do I really make this happen? And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to share every single week everything I do, good, bad, changes, did nothing, whatever, whatever I did. I'm going to share what that is every single week. And that way it holds me accountable because I now have to talk about what I did. Did I do anything? Right. So now I have to make things have to happen, right? Because
all these people are like, where are we?
It's been a month. What the hell's happening? So yeah. So that's what that was. Yeah. Because I think like it's really important. So first of all, I think having big, scary goals is important. Because I was like, maybe I'll do 20K. And I was like, well, I feel like that's actually possible. Like, I mean, that doesn't sound
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that doesn't sound super hard. Right. So like, cause really, if I look back at what I did in 2019 and 2018, like that's what I did. It just wasn't it wasn't consistent because a lot of my custom work, they can be very large projects that are just, broken out over, 50% here, 25%. That's kind of how I do my bigger contracts. So I'm like, I feel like that can happen. So let's go crazy. Let's just push it. And I was like, let's do 50. And it scared me. And I was like, but that's okay. Like I think still, if I can, like people are doing this, why can't I? This is happening for people. Why is it not happening for me? And I know some of the reasons why why it hasn't happened for me in the past. It's because I wasn't consistent. I wasn't, I was doing what I talk to people about never doing, which is, I'm going to dabble over here and I'm going to dabble over here. And, I'm going to take this course. And I've spent, $5,000 on courses in the last, 6 months to never finish them or to finish them and go, what just happened? Right. Or to start and go, I'm not really feeling it. And then, you just kind of move on. So, I think that accountability is super important. And I do think that for anybody who's thinking about building an online course, building in accountability with your online course is going to be massively beneficial for you. Not just for you, but for the people that are taking your course. Not if it's only a $97 course or something, but if you're building like a larger program that's $1,000 or something, build in some kind of accountability so that you're still connecting with your audience who's taking your course, and maybe set up some deadlines. So maybe it's more like a program that isn't available 24 hours a day. Well, it's available 24 hours a day, but it's not like they can buy it throughout the year. But it's like you say, okay, it starts on, January 1st and it goes for, 6 weeks. And once a week, I'm going to send you a Facebook message and ask you to update me or something like that. Just something little so that there's some connection and somebody's kind of saying to them, have you done? Did you watch? Did you do? Yeah. What about the homework? Right?
Like what they're like, I haven't done anything.
Yeah, shit. She messaged me again. God damn it. Right. So yeah, like you want that, you want to do that to them. Cause it's super easy for people to, and I've done this, like I just said, like I've bought courses where I really did want to learn, but like life takes over, you get sidetracked, whatever happens, then you go back and like, damn it, I never finished that course, right? Where if they had checked in with me, I would have been like, oh shoot, I better go watch that video. Like I never did that, right? Like it just forces you to pay attention to it. And if you can do that with your courses, then not only is it going to feel good that, you're helping people along, but more importantly, they're going to feel good that they paid for something and it happened. Right. And they're going to feel better about you and better about telling people about you. Cause they're like, it wasn't just another course that I took and did nothing. This course I took and I made this shit happen. Right. Like, I think that's really, really important.
Because I think it's true. A lot of people, and like you said, I've done it too, where I've taken a course and I was like, well, I got nothing out of that. But when I really sat and looked at it, I'm like, I also did nothing that they told me to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
For what? That's not going to happen. Like, why did I even take this course? Like, I should have looked at that and went, I know that's never going to happen. I might do it for a week and then I'll be like, screw you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally.
No offense to the book. It was a great book and I really enjoyed it, but I was like, it ain't happening.
Yeah, no. Never
Don't want to be a part of your club. Thank you very much.
I'm going to make my own club.
Like, it's like the 8 a.m. club maybe now.
Yeah, I like that.
A little bit better.
That's much better. Yeah. Yeah. Like I just think that is, I hear that all the time, that people will take a course and they never finish it or they don't accomplish the thing. And then they go, oh no, don't take that. Like
it was no good. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Which is totally not true. The content is probably killer. It's just that if you don't have accountability, it's really, really hard to get through something that's just at your own whim. Right. So.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a great tip for those people that are building, because we're seeing more and more of people building those online courses, but they're just throwing that random sporadic content up. And I've also seen a lot of people that you can just tell when they're building as they go. But they only say you only have to be 1% smarter than the people that you're serving, or you only have to be one course ahead. But there's sometimes where you're like, you said this was going to go out a Tuesday at 6, and I know Tuesday at 5 o'clock, you just sat down and recorded it. You were like, shit, I need to put a video out.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. It's, and like, I get it. I know there's lots of people that teach that and say sell before you build. And I think that's fine. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's fine if you're comfortable doing that, sure. But make sure that you actually give yourself the time to actually still build it.
Or at least have an outline, right? So you know that everyone's kind of, because I try to do that sometimes too. I'm like, I don't need a script, when I'm doing solo episodes, and I'm like, oh, I don't need a script. And then I listen back, or I get it back from my team and they're like, what the hell? Like you started talking about mechanics charging hours, and then you switch to how you're shifting your business. What title do you want?
What is happening right now?
I'm like, okay, so I should have scripted myself. They're like, well, at least a couple of points, maybe.
Just 5 bullet points would have been good. That's
and
it.
So they have fun with it, because they'll send me little snippets back, and they're like, this is how crazy you sound. You sound like you live in the country with a bunch of cats. Because I was just like all over the place, right? So I'm like, yeah, okay, I know I'm one of those people that at least need a little target line. This is what I want them to kind of learn, and this is the times I want them to learn. And instead of just going, I don't know, what do you want to learn today?
I could do anything.
It's like a teacher, right? They don't do that. They're not like, so let's do subtraction. What the heck?
Hey, kids. You want to learn how to knit? Because I learned that yesterday. I definitely think, like, I am not a person that does verbatim scripting. I am definitely a person who does bullet points. Just have bullet points. The other thing is that I do find with myself, if I don't do that, I tend to get really like on show. Like I'm like, oh, I'm going to be hilarious in this one. Like, it's really weird. And so after I'm like, what the hell? I hope that there was at least one thing that somebody learned from that. And it wasn't just me like waving my arms around. Trying to get ziggers out. Like, I don't know what goes on. Like, I think when I'm nervous, what happens when I get nervous is that's my go-to is stupid humor. Like I'm like Xander Xander, what's his name? Not Xander. Who's that guy in Friends that always is not Joey.
Chandler?
Chandler. Rhymes with Xander. Chandler, he's always like does awkward humor. Like I'm totally like that. Like I just, in awkward situations, I'm like, oh, here's a great joke. And people are like, we're at a funeral. That's not appropriate. And I'm like,
I'm that person too, where I'm like, oh, tough room.
Yeah. You don't mean it,
and usually my husband's like, we're at my work function. And I'm like, so dirty jokes are no?
That? Okay. Not so good?
Don't leave me alone then. It's your fault.
That's right. Yeah. It's not the best.
Oh, you wanted to keep your job.
Oh. Thought you hated your boss. Oh, you didn't want him to know that. Weird. Okay. Yeah. I know. It's not good. Yeah.
I totally relate to that. And, I think part of, the other side to that too is, we're hearing so much, and I love that people are saying, you really need to be authentic, but I don't think people really truly understand the word authentic, because I see a lot of made up authenticity where you're like, that's not you. That's not
Yeah.
right. Like, it would be like if people were to like come to my town at any time. It's why I don't put pictures on Facebook where I'm like completely made up and have these like stellar outfits on. I'm like, because no other time in the history of life would somebody see me looking like that. I do not shop in high heels. I did like, I'm a sneaker girl.
Yeah.
But it'll
Yeah.
look really good in the photo. And I'm like, that's great. But, it's not authentic. It's like, you won't see a boudoir photo in my house because that's not a thing that happens ever. You can ask my husband. He'll be like, no. I'm like, look, honey, I bought these new cotton PJs.
It's like, I love them.
With a V cut neck.
Getting crazy. Just settle down. Yeah, no, like I totally agree with you. I think that, I mean, I am also of the belief though, sometimes like there is a, sort of like business authentic. There is like, so there's Amanda with her dog. Like there's me and my dog, Amanda, which, I'm not going to talk to anybody else that way because it's weird. Like, there's me when I how I talk to my sister. There's me, right? It's always me. And how I talk in my business, it's always me. But I do agree with you that there are some people that you can definitely feel like there's a bit of that wall up and you're like, that's not even business you. That's like, you're acting. Like, don't be acting. You still want to be yourself, as much as possible. Like, it's just, like, don't do things that feel outside of you, right? Like, don't do it because everybody else is doing it. It's like, again, like we were talking about, like putting just a picture of me smiling, like, oh, hi, on Instagram makes me feel weird. I don't know what to do with that. That's why I have to have a quote with it, because then I'm like, this is on purpose. Look at the quote. I'm happy to be here. But like, the quote's what's important, right? Like, but I know that it's also important for people to see my face because it is part of the brand, right? So that's how I get around it. That works for me. But don't do things that you feel like you're getting forced into something. And for me, again, even with those photos, like I do all those photos in like one day, like in an hour. I buy these backgrounds on Amazon for like $25. They're 5x7s. I stick them up on my wall, and then I just set my phone up and I just take photos. And some of them you do, like, I take a lot of photos because girl, some of them you're like, what in the hell? Because I do try to be like, oh, I've seen some of these Instagrammers do this. What goes on? I just don't have the coordination for some things. And it's very strange. So I'm like, okay, those ones are never going to see the light of day. But once in a while, a good one. I'm like, okay, that's manageable. I can do it. Like it's fine.
Yeah. I know. I remember seeing somebody that I can't remember. They were like reading a book or something, but they looked so natural. They were just sort of sitting on their couch.
As you do.
And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, with a roaring fire, a big cup of tea and a fuzzy blanket. And I was like, oh, that's totally what I would like to be doing. Yeah. And I tried to take the photo and I was like, I don't know. She looked very elegant lying on the couch. I literally looked like I had passed out somewhere and then somebody just threw me on the couch and somebody snapped a picture when I was in midair. Like there was like so many chins everywhere and like my stomach was hanging out. And I was like, this is like a constant before photo. Like,
yes.
Like, no, I'll just take a picture of the book.
Yes. Well, it's funny because I always talk about my elephant. I have an elephant ankle for a neck. That's what I always say, because I have so many, this is what happens when you get in your 40s. You have all these layers to your neck. So I
don't know when that happens.
No, I don't know when it happens, but I know I've got it now. And so I always, whenever anybody wants to take my photo, I'm like, wait, I have to just stretch this out because nobody wants all of this. So
I do the same thing. Okay, chin out, shoulders back. Hang on. Okay, yeah. Okay, go. And they're like, you look ridiculous. I'm like, it'll look good in the photo. Somebody showed me this once.
I know my angles.
This is the okay side.
That's right.
Sorry, this is the social side.
I know. It's so funny. Oh
Because
my God.
yeah, in family photos, usually everybody is like, they're all posed, and I'm like,
I know. I am also that person. Like I was at some event with these, it's a business networking event, which of course, everyone's very like, oh, and so we all have got our book. And so they're like, oh, let's take this photo. And they're all standing like this. And I'm in the front like this. Just, who is that girl? Like, what is happening? Right? Like, people are like, oh, it was supposed to be a next photo. And then Amanda was there. So I don't know. Yeah.
but then again, it goes back to like the people are going to remember you because that's just who you are, right? Whereas if someone else were to do that, they would be like, is Bob having a seizure? What happened?
Yes.
Like, because it's so out of character, right?
Yeah. It's so funny. Oh my goodness, I tell you.
So
Crazy.
you as well have a podcast called Raw Squared,
Yes.
which actually you did an episode about routines.
Yes.
So I do want people to go and listen to that one because it was what made me think about that 5 a.m. thing because I was like, oh, I'm there.
Never
But
doing
so
that.
tell us a little bit about what made you decide to start a podcast and then what people can expect from it.
Yeah, so that was actually my third podcast. So the very first podcast I did was just me sharing information. And because, as we all know, I'm lazy. So and no one was there was no accountability. It was just like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. And because podcasting is sort of this weird thing where you don't actually know if anyone's listening, it's like really bizarro. So I was recording these and I was really all about batching. I was like, I'm going to batch a whole bunch and then I'll put them out. And then, you get lazy because I do get lazy. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, shoot, it's Tuesday.
My batch is out. Yeah. I usually batch and then I forget that I batched. And then I'm like, why is there no content out? And I'm like,
happening?
oh, because 6 months went by.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I would start doing was like random. And I was like, I'll just talk into my phone and that'll be the podcast. Okay, great. And so this is not helping anyone. So I was like, okay, this is not going so well. So I think I did about 25 episodes and I was like, okay, I'm going to shut that one down. And then about a year later, I was like, okay, I'm going to start another podcast, but this time I'm going to have interviews like what we're doing. So I started doing that and I think I did about 30 episodes of that. And then I stopped because again, I'm too lazy to set up the interviews. So I was like, this is problematic for me. So then the third podcast, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have a podcast where me and someone, we just talk about something. And that way we can just batch it together. And then there's accountability because that person expects me to show up and do the thing and everything's happening, right? So I reached out to my friend Kate Butler Ross. And so we are not related, but we both have the same last name. So we were like, what should we call it?
Perfect. Yeah.
Raw Squared. So yeah, it is basically what we talk about is, being a female entrepreneur and all the stuff that happens. She's a content and copywriter and I focus on sort of the branding and design side of things. So it was a really nice balance between the two of us. We are on break right now. But we did almost a year of episodes and then we're going to come back in 2021 because we've decided we were like, we've got to shift this up a bit. So we're trying to figure out what that means, but we're thinking we're going to do something where it's more like every month we'll focus on a topic and sort of talk about that thing or something like that. So we haven't totally decided, but like, let's take a break and think about what does that look like? It's Christmas, holidays are coming up. So we'll just take a break for a bit and then come back in 2021. But yeah, it's far easier for me to do that one because the accountability is there.
Yeah. And you have a year worth of episodes so those people can tune in and then
Yes.
you'll be, it'll be great because you'll be all caught up by the time the new stuff goes.
That's right. That's right.
It's perfect, right?
Yeah.
It's like binge listening.
Yes, totally. Well, and I am actually in the process too of I'm thinking about starting another podcast because there's something like for me, I am always so curious. And that's why I created the book behind the Sparks, where, because I'm super hyper curious about what other people are doing, and not I mean really your nitty gritty. Like I want to know, like, what tools are you actually using? What software are you using? What are your landing pages like? How do you, how much are you pricing your things at? Like I like to know, like I want to know all this stuff. So that's what Behind the Sparks was. It's a book of 50 women that I researched and looked at. What are they offering? How much are they pricing these things at? What kind of things are included in those? Because I also get so many ideas, right? Like I'm always like, oh, that's interesting. What a cool concept that is. Like I always say, don't steal, like don't be a jerk, don't steal their work, but like be inspired by it. So that's really what it was really for me. That's also, I'm very selfish. I was like, I'm going to research these people for myself. And then I was like, well, I suppose I could put a book together and share it with some other people who want to know about it. So a lot of times I do things for very selfish reasons. So that's what happened, is because I'm just so curious. And so I thought, maybe doing a podcast where we really get into the nitty gritty, like I don't want to know, all these other things. I want to know, tell me literally about your launch and how you made that happen. I want to know everything.
Yeah.
Step
Good
by
and
step,
bad.
every detail. Right. So.
Oh, that's exciting. I can't wait for that. So we're also going to have, you have offered us a special offer for that book that we were just, you were just talking about.
It's true.
So we will make sure that we have the codes that you can get that free book as well. And so I'm going to put you on the spot here, but just going out, if you had like 1 or 2 tips for people, the majority of listeners are already in business, what would you say would be one of the tips that is sort of your go-to for people that you're like, if you remember anything, remember blank, blank, blank.
Wow. Okay. So I think probably the first thing would be that, don't put too much pressure on yourself to be everywhere, right? So focus on one place and just do it really, really well and grow your audience in that space. And I would say the second thing would be to get really sort of smart and strategic about your product ladder, your product funnel, whatever words you want to use for that. Some people use, it's all kind of the same, but get really smart about how you're bringing people into your business and really getting clear about what path they're going to follow to get up to your core offer, but really understanding what that is, because honestly, knowing exactly what that is will help you with your brand messaging, with your visuals, with who you're talking to, with where you're spending your time, all of those things, because you're going to be super clear about what it is you do and how you serve people.
Oh, I love that. That was perfect.
Good.
So if people are interested in getting to work with you or even to know more about everything that you do, what's the best place for them to find you?
Probably going to my website. So it's sparklabgroup.com. And you can, see all my fun stuff that's going on over there on my website. Or of course, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So you can connect with me on any of those. I'm happy to, connect. And the ones that I use, like I do have my own Instagram, but I never use it. So don't go to that one. Go to the SparkLab one, because that's actually what I use. That's what I pay attention to.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to chat and to open up and to laugh with me. I had such a great time.
Oh, thank you. I had so much fun. This was awesome.
Oh, my cheeks are still sore from smiling and laughing so much. So thank you, Amanda, for taking the time to talk with me. I just had so much fun, and I cannot wait to stay connected with you and have you back on the show. For all of my Foxy listeners out there, don't forget to head to our website at foxtalksbusiness.ca. Click on blogs at the top of the page, and you're going to see this episode. In there, you're going to be able to get your discount code for Get Behind the Sparks, where you're going to get it 100% off. You can't beat a deal like that, as well as the ways that you can connect with Amanda further. So you're going to want to make sure that you head there right after this episode. And I always love hearing from you guys, what you think, what you love. people that you want to hear. So make sure you keep sending those recommendations in. And if you have time to just take a moment wherever you're listening to this podcast and leave us a review, I would be ever so grateful. So no matter what you're doing in this day, whether you're sparking things up, whether you're just taking a break, or whether you're changing the entire world one step at a time, don't forget to take time out to have fun. Because if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?